What's up, guys? This is what if Issei was with Konico and Kuroka. Now, we could make him a devil that either vanished with Kuroka or went with Konico, or we could do one where he is, by choice, not a devil, or we can do what I'm gonna do, and that is make it where he just gets the crap beaten out of him by the devils. So instead of becoming one, he's beaten by them. Now, I've already tried making this once tonight, so I'm sorry if it feels a little rushed, but I've already explained it all, so it's going to be a pain to re-explain it. So, back to the video. Alright, so we start off with Issei, Kuroka, and Shirin, as she's known, with them all in their little thing, being like in their little house they made together as a family. Being as it's seen is that both Kuroka and Shirin love Issei with all their freaking hearts. And they would literally die for him, and he would die for them. Like, it's that crazy. They weren't expecting what they had to deal with. Now, they were a little bit surprised on what's going to have to happen. Now, they'd promised to marry Issei whenever he was older, and they would both be with him. Which, honestly, his dream to become the harem king, they would allow, but being that this version, Konico would be a little bit more perverted. Like, in that regard, as she had someone she liked, and it was really less lustful towards. Now, this is when something completely surprising happened. Issei saw something he thought he'd never see. He saw a devil attack. Now, it only attacked him, but this is when he was told, when he was being held up by his throat, listen here, little half Nekomata, you're going to go, and what's going to happen is you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to die, because we're taking those two Nekomatas with us. Now, Issei is not related to them at all, so yeah, that's what we're going with, so yeah. Issei then says, you'll die, you bastard, in the blood of his mouth, with blood pouring out of his mouth. Then saying, oh, I'll die, will I? As Issei channeled the boosted gear this one time, punching the dude in the gut, actually injuring him, just for the rest of his barrage start beating down Issei. After about 10 minutes of them all stomping Issei out, Issei said, that all you got, as he passes out. Hearing this, they said, oh, I think he's done. Them feeling for a pulse, saying it's very slow, may even die. Whatever, let's leave him dead. And then goes over to Konico and Kuroka, actually taking them for his own. That one is canon, all that goes normal. Then when Issei goes to, when he actually is able to go to, he knows of Konico, but he doesn't think it's Shirin, because Shirin and Konico are not the same name. And he wouldn't expect Shirin to go to the school with a different name. Although, he did keep a bracelet with all their names intertwining. And he would protect her even if it killed him. Like, that's how much he loves her. And even though he wanted to be the harem king, it was only in girls that she and also Kuroka would allow. That was the rule, and that's the one he's sticking by. He hasn't even gotten a relationship since the whole time. Him knowing that there's going to be a fallen attacking him. Him knowing that this chick that just asked him out is a fallen. He accepts. Why wouldn't he? Then she vanishes after that, and Konico is still watching Issei, thinking it couldn't be him. We were told he died. We saw injured and beaten looking Issei, saying he had been dead too long for them to revive. Although, Konico was kind of excited, thinking he's still alive. It must be him. No one else looks like that. And then the day comes, and then he basically just stops in the middle of there, throwing a chocolate bar in there, Konico being like, I want it, as Issei basically teleports in front of her with a chocolate bar saying, really, you want it? Scaring Konico, saying, what are you doing here? How'd you know I was here? Oh, please, Shirin, like I wouldn't notice you. You haven't even been figuring out how to control your presence, have you? What? So it is you. Yes, it is. It's been a long time, Shirin. I've missed you. Where's Kuroka? I've noticed she wasn't at school with us. So, where is she? This is when Konico would say, she abandoned me. He said, what? No way. She'd never abandon you. She literally threatened me over you. There's no way she'd ever leave you without a fight to the death with whoever wanted to try doing this. Konico, hearing this, saying, well, she did. She murdered our old master. And this is when Issei grew his fist, saying, your old master was a scumbag. What do you mean? You never even met him. Yes, I did. He beat the crap out of me and said he was taking y'all. Hearing this actually surprises them. They're saying, what? Yeah. As Issei showed all the beating marks he had, saying, the pictures you saw was what he did to me. It took him and his barrage to do it, but it took all of them. You know, it makes sense. I'm the most dangerous one here. Showing his 3 tails and ears popping out, saying, here. We'll talk later. Even though one of Issei's ears was, like, had a hole in it, and 2 of his tails looked kind of shredded up from, like, knives and things being sliced at them. And one even looked like, and one of the cut ones actually had a burn on the side of it. Surprising her a little bit that Issei looked so rugged and worn out. Asking what happened to the perfect looking ears and tails that he used to have. Him saying, I fought that entire barrage, which almost killed me. I'm lucky Drake let me live, pulling out the boosted gear. Konico seeing this, saying, thank you, Drake, for protecting my man. And she basically just got Issei into a bear hug and almost crushed his back, feeling that he's got so much power. Yeah, I had nothing to do but train for vengeance since the whole thing happened. I'd never stopped. I still train every morning. You want to move in? I mean, I did say I'd always live with you, so sure. Talking to Rias the next morning about maybe moving in with Issei, and then being like, I don't know, maybe not yet. If you choose to join the barrage, then yeah. But you really do know him? Yeah. He's the one that kind of is my... And this is when Konico kind of gets quiet for a second. And then and then when Rias says, well, spit it out. And this is when Konico yells, he's my boyfriend, okay? Hearing this, they're like, what? Kiba's like, did I hear that right? You actually have a boyfriend? Holy shit. I thought I'd be the... Wow. Everyone's just like, surprised. It's like, is it really that surprising I'd get a boyfriend? Yeah, it is. You literally have threatened to kill someone for trying to walk up to you. True. And this is when Issei, would still have to deal with the whole date with the fallen angel, and that would go as canon. But in the end, instead of it being just Rainier throwing a light spear at him, Issei catches it with his boosted gear hand and saying, good, I kind of need a toothpick. Getting the meat out of his tooth and then just snapping in his hand, powering up and saying, balance breaker, with 3 armored tails of cat-looking thing, as well as his regular helmet, had cat ear poking out of the side with armor around them, saying, no, it can't be. You're the Red Dragon Emperor and a Nekumata? How is this possible? None of your business. As he basically was about to go kill her, when Donosik threw a light spear against his back, Issei's tail slapping it away, saying, really? You're dying for that one, come here. Don't run. As he started saying, don't run, Donosik started just flying at full speed, trying to escape, just for Issei to basically catch him in an instant with dragon wings, surrounding and crushing Donosik, almost killing him just for free to shoot him in the back. Issei turning around to the person who just shot him, having to deal with all of those attacks at once. Issei yelled, enough! As light spears was to pierce him, and actually almost took his entire body apart, as he collapsed into the ground, saying, I'm sorry, Sharon. I couldn't stay with you. Rias, take care of her. As he hit the ground, covered in blood. Them saying, that was a lot harder than I thought it'd be. He's not only just some Nekomata, like we expected. He's the actual Red Dragon Emperor. Yeah. yeah. You know, he's saying, I noticed. As he's kind of fumbling around saying, ah, man, he almost killed me. Thanks, Freed. Freed saying, anytime. Wait, so he was no... So that was what a powerhouse was? Yes, that's basically the equivalent of us picking a fight with Kokobeel. Wait, so the only reason we won is because he was overwhelmed. Yes. What would happen if we came at him when he was at his peak and knew what he was about to do? If he had actually accounted for us to be here, we'd probably be dead. What do you mean? Well, me and you, Freed, would probably have our heads torn off and put on spikes, while the three ladies right here would probably, instead of being, dead, would probably become servants to him. Hearing this, Freed said, wow. So that's what being that powerful can get you. I'll try getting that powerful. Oh, shut up, Freed. Fine. And this is when they all kind of just disappeared. For Rias to appear and actually, boom, revive Issei with 8 pawn pieces being begged by Konico. This is when Konico would say, please, Rias, please, anything. I'll do anything, just please revive him. Even if it takes all your pawn pieces, anything, please. And she even tried turning her Senjutsu on, trying to revive him, but it didn't do anything. As she said, fine. Boom. 8 pawn pieces. As Issei stood up, saying, back. With a smile on his face as he went past back out. And this is when Ria said he probably won't even remember saying that. But whatever. Issei woke up the next morning with, nothing out of the ordinary. No one in his house, nothing different. Everything's good. And then something unexpected would happen. Konico proceeded to, surprisingly enough, actually he woke up with Konico on his chest, and this is when she told him actually what happened, and he said, wow, so 4 fallen angels and 1 exorcist got the best of me? To be fair, the exorcist was freed. He's at least a mid-rank. He's at least as powerful as a mid-ranking devil. Wow. So, what do you think on wing scale would he be? Well, maybe 2 to 4. Wow, and they were probably, I'd say at least 2 of them at the verge of getting their 4 wings. Wow. That still kind of sucks. Whatever, babe. And then basically just pulling Issei to school the next day, meeting Asya the same way. This is when Issei said, we have to help her. Alright, help her, I'm going to school. Issei walking her to the church and then going to school. And then, a few days pass. He has to go to take that same job just for what happened to happen. He sees Freed saying, I wanted to get you back for what you did. No, I'm not letting you get balance breaker this time. Calling the fallen angels that would just straight up teleport there. As right when Freed's about to go start slicing, Issei's about to catch his hand, but he's been hit with so many holy bullets from Freed that it's actually starting to hurt. Like, really bad. And right when Freed's about to take over, like, straight up try chopping Issei's head off, Kiba jumps in, and Konico throws furniture at him. Not expecting to have a table thrown at him, Freed gets completely knocked out by this, but all 4 of the fallen angels start just throwing light spears, like crazy amounts. And Freed wasn't completely out of the fight, so he basically had his gun and everything pointed, and about 5 other exorcists were already in there too, saying, oh no, this ain't good, and they basically just grabbed Issei and dipped. While Asya was much, much safer. Asya then the next day would meet up with Issei, and they hung out. Then he would still have to deal with Rainier there, which really all Rainier did was basically just hit him with a blinding attack, which surprised him, and then took Asya. Then, they still had to bust in there. Konico saying, fine, if you're adding 1 more girl to the harem, I'll allow it just this once. Just once. Oh, Konico, you silly little girl. He'll add a lot more girls to the harem. But then, Issei basically being as wild, as crazy as he is, he actually has to deal with this. And by deal with this, I mean he straight up has to deal with the entire that. He straight bulldozed in there, using his knuckles with the boosted gear, and he actually was wondering what he should promote to. Then he said, Rook. A Rook would be perfect. Promotion. Rook. As every step he took started to make the ground shake, with his balance breaker on, he basically was slapping around anyone who got in his way. And then, basically piercing a clean hole through the chest of Rainier, pulling his hand out, bathed in blood, grabbing her wrists, taking the healing, the Twilight healing, giving it to Asya again, so Asya would have her powers back, though Asya was not quite expecting this, so when she was revived, she said, Issei, and actually wound up kissing him. Konico saying, you're getting off with this one, but don't go just trying to kiss him again, as Konico started kissing on Issei too. Ria's saying she wanted on this, and Konico kind of having to let it happen, so yeah. Then something absolutely surprising would happen. They would see someone that they were not expecting to see. A few days would pass, they have to deal with Riser. Reese would still pop up the same way, just to see Konico already in bed with Issei, with her tails and ears out, laying there, saying, Nya. Rhea singing this, says, aw, how cute, little kitty cats. And this is when Issei said, speak. Kind of scaring them a little bit, kind of scaring Reese a little bit, saying, alright, so I need you to sleep with me. Konico saying, absolutely not. About to grit her teeth and start trying to throw an attack. Issei, this is when she actually said, you know that's the problem I have, remember Konico? Konico saying, fine, you can, but only once. Besides, I just did it with him. That explains why you look all lovey-dovey. And she said, sure, just give me 2 seconds. As he was about to just try rummaging in for a condom or anything, but she said, no, it has to be raw. Issei said, alright, your choice. As he went all out for the first time in a while, showing her what he was, why he's the Red Dragon, and domination is his perk. As he completely overwhelmed Reese. This absolutely surprised her. No one had ever done this. She was being overwhelmed. But right when he's about to be able to do it and actually go inside, Grapia straight up appears behind him saying, bad kitty cat, grabbing him by his collar, and by the collar of his shirt, which he was only wearing one black tank top, which is about to throw off, just for her to rip it off. Wind up actually ripping it off and pulling him by the back of his neck, carrying him and hitting him into the back of the wall, into the rear wall of the room. Hearing this, Asya is even about to get up and check what's going on, but thinking it's just Konico and Issei having their fun time. They get way too aggressive for her to be staying in there when it happens, so she wanted to get some in there too, and she would, just not quite then. Not at the same time as Konico. Konico was way too unpredictable for what she would do. Then Issei would basically say, alright, what's going on? We'll tell you tomorrow at the club room. Alright. Make sure to show up there early, okay? And then they kind of all... And this is when Rias would say, should Akano come with me? Sure. Hearing this, they kind of surprised that the queen should always be there with, her king. Well, this made it where Issei just doing his thing. The next day, he meets up there and he basically just bought a giant mountain of chocolate bars while they were on their way to school. On the way to school. Showing up with a giant bag on his back, full of every type of candy that Konico absolutely loved. A few for Asya, which she loved. And then just one, I'm gonna say, a few candy bars for himself, like a Snickers and a Hershey's. And this was basically all he had. And I'm talking about them white and black, hard, crunchy ones. If y'all know what I'm talking about, you had a great childhood. Yeah, them amazing ones. Issei's just enjoying himself. This is when he starts sniff in the air, and they're like, what's wrong? You see, cats have a good sense of smell, and it smells like burnt chicken is in here. Right when he said this, Riser was there. He said this right when Riser appeared, and Riser said, "Did someone just talk smack to me, Lord Riser Phoenix?" Issei said, "I don't care who you are. You smell like bad BO. Like really bad BO. Like, man, do you ever wash? Damn. Man, I'm literally a cat and I smell better than you." Nah, felines should know their place. Now bow, you damn cat. Going to actually attack Issei just for Issei to say, Boosted gear pops out and he's like, "No, I'm gonna kill you. I'm going to make you wish you were dead. I'm going to turn you into probably the last line of the Phoenixes." This is when Reese would say he's actually got a younger sister. Alright, she'll be the next line of the era of the Phoenixes. He's also got 2 older brothers. Alright. It's gonna make it a little bit of a pain in the ass for me, but I can find a way. This actually surprised Riser, and he said, "How dare you, you mongrel?" He's just saying, "Whatever." But then, the most surprising thing would happen. When Riser popped, flexing that he had his whole squad, and Issei only had, how many of them were his girl? As Asuya and Konico would just jump on his sides for Rias to. This is something that actually somewhat surprised Riser, as she kind of grabbed onto the back of Issei saying, "I am." This pissed off Riser saying, "She's mine. You'll never get her." As trying to threaten Issei. Issei saying, "Dude, I'm in paradise. You can fuck off." Hearing this, and Riser to go attack, and Issei raising his power to right above Riser's, Grafie actually had to raise her power to full force, saying, "Both of you quit." Issei saying, "Alright, sure, whatever." And this is when Riser even got a little bit scared, saying, "Well, you are the strongest queen. Even Riser would be slightly afraid of that." Now, note, if he was actually to threaten Grafia, I'm just saying this, if he was to threaten Grafia as being a king and she's just a queen, he probably would have actually set off a fight between the Parage of Serzex and his own. And note, Grafia alone could probably kill his entire Parage, not even trying. So could anyone in Serzex's Parage. So he actually knows this, and he's like, "I'm not going to have everyone in my team and myself die because I want to insult someone who could probably kill me in 10 seconds at most." Alright, back to the video. Issei is doing his, normal thing, training. They get to the bottom of the mountain. Issei actually saw how big the load Konico was about to carry, and actually threw it on his own back, saying, "I'll take this one for you, babe." And she actually sat on top of it with Asuya. The only one actually carrying their own stuff was Kiba. Kiba saying, "Oh, this is bullshit." Issei said, "Yeah, my guy, it is, but still. Hey, at least you're not carrying all this." As she sees 3 giant bags. One, like how big Konico's was in canon. One twice that size, one half that size. And then both of them are sitting on top of it with a picnic. And Rias and Akino actually choose to join them on Issei's back. And he's basically just walking while Kiba's like, "Dude, how are you doing this?" As he's basically going with that big bag and that one small bag in his hand. This actually surprises Kiba, though, since he's the knight and he's the one being outsped by a dude with so much more weight, who's just a pawn, not even promoted or anything. Now, seeing this kind of surprises Kiba. He's like, "No, I will get strong enough to keep up with him." Once they get up the mountain, Konico actually decided to do the whole thing, and everything went kind of like they just trained with Issei being the main trainer, since at 4:30 every morning he would wake up, like muscle memory to get him up. Now, Konico would get up with him and Asuya. Rias and Akino would actually stay asleep until around 5:30. Kiba would get up like 2 minutes before. He would get up around the same time as them, just to train with Issei. And they would kind of have a 3-on-1 match, which Issei actually taught Issei just a little bit of flame magic, ice magic with water magic, and lightning magic. And just one bomb spell, which he thought, pretty good to learn. Now, this bomb spell basically just made it kind of poof, which more is made a giant cloud of smoke, but it was also a kind of effective bomb. Like, it wouldn't be anywhere near a good fire spell, or a good bomb spell, but it wouldn't be just not something you could just scratch off. Like, it was actually a pretty bad hit. At least for pawns. Like, if you were a rook, you could probably just take it and be like, meh. Now, this made it where Issei didn't expect what he had to deal with. So after an hour straight of training with Konico and Kiba, with Issei throwing random magical attacks at him, this is when Rias and Akino would finally wake up and try challenging him to a 2-on-1, which he effortlessly kind of won, telling them they need to focus more on physical strength, since if someone like him, a brawler, was to get into, like, the fight, like, where he could actually get close to him, they'd be done. They noticed this and actually have to try training their physical bodies, noting it's exhausting. Issei saying, yeah, and I have to train every day so I can get strong enough to use this, showing the boosted gear. Alright. Now, let's go. As surprising as this is, saying, what do you mean, let's go? Well, we're going to go train, right? Dude, we just woke up. Trained for an hour straight with you. And then they said, we're back to training again. And they actually have everyone on Issei kind of fight, saying, alright, now I think it's about to lunch. And we're going to skip to about lunchtime of them training all like this. And Issei actually prepared some bomb spaghetti with meatballs, chicken alfredo with broccoli, mac and cheese with some really bomb, like, hot dogs cut up into it, like, baked potatoes, like, everything was good, even french fries. Like, man was making all the good stuff. And he especially enchanted this with his Nekomata powers, I forgot what it's called, whatever it was, to basically make it where this stuff had more nutritional value than it should, and basically supercharged Issei and all them, to where they can actually fight for longer, train harder, and all that. And actually, Issei made a chocolate bar for Konico, specifically for her, that boosts her durability and speed, though noting it took a lot of magic to make and a lot of chocolate molds. Konico tasting and saying it was better than any chocolate she'd ever had before, and it was. It literally was the most amazing thing you could eat. Now, back to the video. As Issei then has to deal with Riser. Now, the Riser fight won't really take that long to do, so yeah. Basically, Issei would do a tried and true stand thing of, hey Riser, send all your people at me unless you a coward. Riser would then give both the Phoenix Tears to his queen, saying, alright, disperse him as much as you need, goodbye. Go take him on at that area, and this is when Issei's entire crew, including Rias and Konico, and all of them would actually go fight Riser. Kiba, who's gotten good enough with the sword where he can actually cleanly pierce people. Issei, who has the legendary, like, cat sword, which is called the Nekumana, which basically is a sword that's got cat ears and for the, like, as a hilt. I'm just coming up with this off the fly, guys, so yeah. All he cares about is just winning this thing. Challenge the knights, he beats the knights. Challenge the rooks, he beats the rooks. Outpowers the bishops in magic with his Shirogu or whatever it was. With his, like, chi manipulation and the fireballs. And then, absolutely surprising everyone, hit the bomb queen before taking out any of the pawns. Basically, what his plan was is, I'm going to take on the bomb queen and the pawns at the same time. Now, he's exhausted at this point. And all the pawns are basically getting their licks in. And then he notices he's taking all the pawns out except for two. That would be the ones that look like cats. And then he finally took out the bomb queen as he's barely on his feet. But she was kind of just laying there to, like, hold on a second. So, yeah, she was kind of holding on for a second so she could see what would happen. You two, you're Nekomata, aren't you? Yes. were cat girls. Why? As he busts his tails and ears out too, saying, what's the odds? Too bad we have to fight. May actually enjoy meeting the other Nekomata too. We'll see about it after we beat you. And this is when Issei said, oh, you should know better than that. Going out with his full force, absolutely overwhelming them, and then the queen, who had just taken a phoenix tear, just threw an explosion at Issei's back, got completely sidelined by Issei throwing a giant fireball at her, which then had to take another phoenix tear, which Issei kind of basically made it where it was fight, and then take out the queen. With Riser being the only one left on the board, he said, alright, and basically took out Kiba, Akeno, and then for Konico and Issei, he said, you two he seemed to cherish the most. So I'll take you out the fastest. So I'll take you out right when he gets here. Right when Issei got there, he flew forwards, promoted to queen, and just headbutt clean into the, like straight up a headbutt that almost took off the jaw of this dude. Literally, his headbutt was so powerful that it literally tore Riser's head off into nothing but pulp. Riser then kind of just regenerates his head. Doing this, kind of surprising everyone, saying, whatever. Now, this would lead to a few differences. Riser won this fight only off one little basis. He literally pulls it out of his ass. Because Issei's tired. That's it. So back to the video, yeah. He basically only won because he had a special thing that would hurt Nekomatas. Now, it wouldn't affect dragons as much, but it was still kind of painful for them. So yeah, it wouldn't affect devils or phoenixes, but like dragons and Nekomata were basically like ripped to shreds by this stuff. It was a kind of tiny mist that actually hurt them just to breathe it in. And unless you were like completely chest pumped, like all the air was out of your system, you'd kind of die. Now, Issei, being as part devil, he wouldn't die, but he would be very injured. And basically be near death for at least 2 months. But Issei, if he was healed by Twilight Healing, it would basically disperse all this and take that out. And if someone with, like, Senjutsu, this, I remembered it, was to, like, use that on him, he'd basically be healed. Now, I'm gonna say while Issei was passed out after, his loss to Riser, Konico and Issei would basically go together trying to heal him, which worked mainly well, not perfect, but most of the way. They got to where he'd probably wake up in about 2 hours, and then 2 hours later he wakes up. And then he gets up, goes to the party after making that deal with Drake, beat the living shit out of Riser, made the same deal, and then Konico would remind Rias that she was the number one. And this is when she kind of thinks, at least Kuroka's not here, then it might be number 2. Because Kuroka seemed to be the one who was more suitable with Issei. The pervertedness. But back to this video. Issei then not expecting what he would see. Rias moved in with him. Akeno, luckily she hadn't moved in with him, but she did jump around. Like he would wake up with her on the bed too. It was completely confused him since he'd go to bed with like the main girls, and then like in the middle of the night Akeno would appear. But whatever. Now, he's a very soft sleeper. He will wake up at like the drop of a pin. Although whenever he's like actually tired from training, he will go down like a rock. And you will not wake him up for at least 4 hours. Maybe even 6. Occasionally 8. But just occasionally. Now, this made it where Issei was doing his thing, training, until they had to deal with Kokubile. Now, the Kokubile fight wouldn't go very differently, except for the whole thing whenever they have to fight the demon dogs. Issei said, hey, everyone else, go fight that one. Konico, me and you, this one. And they started just beating down these devil dogs. Which were kind of, I think, Cerberuses? Whatever. As he was basically putting them in their place. One actually was able to bite down on Issei, which kind of hurt him a little bit. It took out one of his wings. But this just got Konico to crack its jaw with a kick that may have shattered most deities. Now, Konico had only thrown one kick this powerful ever. That was this kick. No one ever had seen her throw one like this. She didn't even think she could. But it was Nekomata infused kick. Like, she senjutsu'd the crap out of it. Like, you had 4 fireballs following her foot do it. Which, note, even Kuroka only does 6, so that's not that bad. And Kuroka is at least high-class devil level, so yeah. Now, this is when something completely unexpected would happen. When Volley came to do that whole thing and challenged and still had to fight with... They do the whole thing, and Volley still was actually fighting Issei in the same way. And this version, whenever, like, the monkey dude jumps in, Issei's already using his Nekomata powers. And he actually has to use it, his Nekomatas, to assist him with taking on both of them at once, for about a minute or two, just for Kuroka to appear and saying, "Hello, Shirin, Issei." Issei saying, "Kuroka, it's been a long time, come down here and I can speak with you. Oh, just give me a second so I can rip this little dragon and monkey boy's head off." 1 minute, as he basically goes, "Fire roar!" As he basically roars out with flames shooting from his face. Absolutely surprising them, and then he hits them with so many senjutsu hits that overwhelm them. Just for you know, Kuroka to put a shield up saying, "I'd appreciate if you didn't kill my master and teammate." Oh. Sorry. I'm gonna keep doing it. Yeah. As he goes to do it again, Kuroka actually has to stop him using her full force, which was all of the 6 little fireballs hitting Issei in the chest. This tore apart his shirt, showing the multiple scars and bruises that were already inflicted on him through his fights. Surprising them all a lot. Although Konico was kind of used to it since he never wore a shirt with her, so she was used to it. The other girls rarely looked at his chest, like they usually looked him in the eyes. But this was the first time they saw how just straight up destroyed his body was from every fight. Oh, but then we have to go to the whole next thing. Issei is, kind of huffing and puffing, and then actually said, "I'll talk to you later, you two," and vanishes. Them not being able to ever forget the smell of Kuroka, since it's kind of iconic for cats to smell one way, and that's it. Now, then they have to go in the underworld, and that whole thing happens as canon, except Kuroka is going to... Kuroka is going to still intervene the same way she did in canon. The same way she did in canon. Which, Issei did something that no one was expecting. Issei absolutely overwhelmed Kuroka, saying, "It's been so long. Why have you been gone so long? I heard something that went down. Tell me your side of the story." Kuroka saying, "Whatever," telling her side of the story. Issei said, "Wow, no wonder that bastard was so rude." Surprising Kuroka that he would say that, saying, "What do you mean?" "Well, I mean, he is the one who put half these scars on my chest." Surprised, saying, "What?" "Yeah. I was trying to stop him from doing experiments on y'all just for him to try to kill me." Wow. Luckily he wasn't strong enough to actually do anything to me. That wasn't just scars. Seeing this, she was completely overwhelmed. She just didn't expect to ever see it. This was a very injured Issei. And she said, "I'll see you later, Issei." Now, she actually wouldn't join. She actually would leave the volley team, and because she's already kind of immortal, join Issei's crew, moving in with him, and they had kind of the big house as well. Now, this kind of makes Konico really happy, and for 3 nights, no one was able to go in there except for Issei. Like, Issei, Kuroka, and Konico would all sleep in the same bed together, like old times. But then, one day, Asuki would be like, "Please, can I go back in there?" Kuroka would be like, "Fine, the more the merrier," for every one of the girls just jump in there with him. As he said, "Alright." And they still end up like letting gas sprouts the same way they did in canon and all that when normal. But then they've got to deal with the whole thing of, what was the freaking name? They have to deal with that Kyoto fight. That one basically goes the same way. I'm not even making any changes to that one, because it's just too confusing for me to figure out. Although, he doesn't get attacked as badly whenever they first are surprised thinking, is it a devil? Is it a Nekomata? What is it? Like, they completely are surprised to see it's actually a devil Nekomata. Saying, hello, I'm Issei. Part devil, part Nekomata. Surprising them saying, oh, right? Whatever. As Issei basically vanished for, reasons. Still having his sword that he was given, though he prefers just using his claws. Now, this would lead to something unexpected. Issei and Kuroka are kind of officially seen as a thing with Konico as well, so yeah. All the girls have already at least done it with Issei about 3 times by now. Some of them even more. Mainly Konico and Kuroka. Now, this made it where they had basically been walking. Like, they were doing their walk and, to school one day, and they still had to deal with the devil things they had to deal with. Then, they have to deal with the Cyberwork fight, still as canon. Now, Kuroka is basically just watching from the sidelines. Now, if you're wondering why I haven't included in most of my what-ifs that one dude who kind of kidnaps Asya, it's because simply when he tries, and he does, the same thing would happen. But Issei absolutely rips apart the people like there's nothing. But he still would hit Balance Breaker and Juggernaut Drive the same way. And sadly, Juggernaut Drive is just as effective, if not more so, in this form. Though his cat ears won't show, or his tails, his slight bit of his, Nekomata powers would come out to fight. Anyway, back to what if. For the first time ever, Issei saw something he'd never expected to see. Someone actually putting him on his ass. I mean, he knew Sir Zex could, but he'd never been put on his ass for once. Like, even if he knew someone could do it, he'd never actually had it done. And most surprisingly, this dude did it while he wasn't even with his gear on, which Issei could kind of tell that the other pawn was a gear. Was the sacred gear, the Lion of Nemiya. And the Lion of Nemiya actually said we have to get together and all that, and actually saying it was an insult if they didn't, and seeing that this was true, they still, they do it. Just for Issei to still go down to the last hit, which actually wound up being Issei hitting him in the face with his tail, just to blind him for a second while he just swung. Which really was just Issei's tails hitting, like whips, which was an added assist. And this made it where Issei barely won and hit the ground like a rock. Now, this would still barely save him, but only a little bit. Now, anyway, back to the video. Yeah, as Issei barely won, he wound up actually settling down with Kuroka, Konico, Reese, and all the girls, saying, "Ah, what a life." And eventually being considered the strongest being in existence. With him having a son with Konico which they were actually wondering what to name him. And this is when he thought, you know what? I'm gonna name you after the one being I respect the most. Ayo Drake. Yeah, what's up? Can I name the kid after you? Sure. Although one condition. You have to use another name for the middle name. And saying, what do you want? Drake Red Hyodo. Now, just because the kid's hair was brown and white, like, between those two colors, I'm gonna say it was a, light tan. And the kid was a beast, absolute unit from birth. 3rd strongest creature in the universe, right after his father. and Kiba. And I'm gonna say Kiba was basically trained to keep up with Issei. So yeah, it's the only reason why. And yeah, the kid's only stronger than Great Red because he's like bullshitly strong for no reason. And that's the end of this what if.